How do we consider it?
Yeah.
Well, how do we approach it?
Yeah.
I just think that we, basically what we did was we finished the Ride the Lightning European Tour and the Ride the Lightning US Tour, which finished in late March. And basically went back home, San Francisco, and started writing songs. You know, we had very few ideas that was left over. So when we recorded Kill 'Em All, we already had about 4 or 5 ideas for the next album when we recorded Kill 'Em All. When we recorded Ride the Lightning, that was it for new material. And just slowly, over that year between when we recorded Ride the Lightning and when we went back home to San Francisco, there was, you know, a few ideas, but not very many. So when we came off the tour, it was like, now we have to start on the 3rd album, writing it. The opening track, Battery, was, you know, like the first thing that we approached because the riffs and sort of the idea for the next fast song was there. And then from there on we went into Disposable Heroes and just sort of, you know, I mean, we just started writing them. Me and James, as you know, have a place together and slowly started jamming on the new material. I think very little.
Yeah.
I didn't feel it. I mean, the thing is that, you know, a lot of people have thought that now that Metallica are in the so-called sort of big leagues and that, you know, we have a major record label in the States and we have, you know, big management and so forth, a lot of people have thought that the style of the next album was going to be radically different from the last 2. And I think the only people that have not felt that is the band and the management and even to a certain extent the record company, because I think everyone in our organization, from our point of view, feels and knows that this is what we do best and that we probably wouldn't be able to do anything else. So to try and put pressure on us to change what we do would be a big mistake. And
it would ruin us.
That's why I think that just sort of we approach this album in a very relaxed and natural way, because we knew from the beginning that there wouldn't be any pressure from any of the business people such as management or record company. So it was just Metallica making and writing another 8 songs. And if you start thinking about, oh, it has to, you know, we have to follow it up, it has to be better, we have to please these people, and, you know, the only people we really want to please are ourselves. And that's, you know, pretty easy when there's no pressure from any outside organizations. So I think that the pressure and sort of the whole idea, what you're saying, with a follow-up to an album like Ride the Lightning, which sold 500,000, has been fairly little. I certainly haven't felt very much. Okay. And I think if there's been any pressure, it might have come now here in the recording studio, simply to get our shit together and get done, you know, so the people can hear the album instead of only us knowing what it sounds like, right? I don't think there was. I mean, you know, it might be difficult to understand or believe, but I really think that when we think back on it, and that's why I can't find a different way to answer this, is just simply write the next 8 songs. I mean, it's like, you know, we don't write, like I've said before, we don't write, you know, 14 songs and then take, you know, the 8. It was a matter of just writing 8 songs for the 3rd album. I think we might have been, you know, I mean, try and make them, of course, as good as we can to our own satisfaction. I think the songs are maybe a bit more musical than they were before, because I think we can play our instruments a bit better, and I think some of the musical parts in the songs, you know, the musical passages are a bit more sort of musical in that sense. But just, you know, we're home writing 8 more songs.
We've all tried to make everything as heavy as possible. Also, it contributes to what has happened.
Sort of rehearse. Well, we came back from the tour. There was probably about a month or so where everyone was off in different directions. Kirk went camping, he went fishing, me and James went a few places around the country, saw some Deep Purple concerts, followed the tour, and sort of came back, and me and James sort of just slowly started, you know, putting some of the songs together from the sort of arrangement point of view and just sort of getting them in sort of any pieces. we had some jams with both Kurt and Cliff where, their riffs and their ideas were sort of put on tape, so we could, have them hanging out. And basically, me and James just sort of got it together in the beginning. And when we'd have sort of the skeleton of a song, the other guys would come over, we'd all jam on, and they would contribute ideas. And so, I'd say probably sometime around May, sort of everyone started, getting, and then we spent pretty much May to August just writing. The studio, we did the Day on the Green gig in San Francisco in August 31st.
Yeah. With Scorpions.
With Scorpions,
and Deep Purple.
Rat. No. Deep Purple.
Yeah.
With Scorpions, Rat, Y&T, Metallica, Yngwie.
Yeah.
And Victory. Never heard of them. And the day after, I left for Copenhagen to start getting, drum sounds and so forth, which takes a few days. James came over about 2 or 3 days after that, and these guys came over, about a week, 2 weeks later. See, when we record drums, which, do first, it's only me and James. And just James is sort of playing the guitar line just so we know where we are in the song.
And
that was the first week of September. Then what we did, we got sort of everything basically organized, get drum sounds and that together, and then we went and did the infamous Metal Hammer Festival middle of September, which was, a really good gig for us. I think it was one of the better, or maybe one of the few best gigs that we played in Europe in terms of just the performance that we put out on stage. I mean, everything really went well, at least from where I was sitting. And then we came back and sort of really started for real here in the studio, and which was, second, third week of September. Well, basically, this, what we originally wanted to do was record in the States because of various reasons, like you have 3 Americans. And also, we figured that, recording in LA would be, the best thing that we could do. We're not too keen on recording at home because there'd be a lot of distractions, from friends, and it's good to get away so you can concentrate a bit more on that. But we thought LA would be good because everyone would just be, 50 minutes away from home and so forth. So what happened was we started talking producers, and nothing really happened producer-wise. There was a few names that were kicked around, which were...
Which name?
Well, the names that were kicked around were different names than the sort of regular heavy metal producers, such as, Chris Sangarides or Martin Birch. We thought if we were going to get a producer, it should maybe be someone a bit different. So,
Ted Templeman, for instance.
Mutt Lang. No. So the first name that was kicked around was someone named Geddy Lee, who plays bass in Rush. And we're actually very keen on getting him, and he was very keen on working with. He's a very good friend of our management, and he came to our show in Toronto, and we got on with him really well and so forth. And basically what happened was there was a sort of conflict schedule, as they say in the business, which meant that he basically couldn't do it because of his commitments with Rush. And we thought that it just slowly started thinking about that it would be better maybe just to approach this ourselves anyway, like we did last time. And we came to the conclusion that we were very, very keen on working with Fleming, who, as you know, is here in Sweet Silence. But we wanted to record in LA. So what we did was we invited Fleming to come over to LA for some time in July, and me and James went down and met him in LA, and we sort of took a tour of the most happening studios in LA that the record company had set up. They set up, a tour of about, 18, 20 studios. 20 of the sort of so-called name big, happening studios and all this shit. Which, we took a week, and basically what happened was that there was one studio that we were interested in recording in, which we thought had, you know, the good atmosphere we were looking for in the sort of rooms and facilities. But that was booked up until the middle of 1986, so scratch that. The other studios